All right, we're going to start a new React Native app together. We've opened a folder. I've opened a new folder in my labs folder, and I've called this lab 0. So I have opened lab 0 folder. I'm going to make sure my terminal shows, which you remember you can see the terminal by saying Control tilde to toggle the terminal at the bottom. There's other ways of seeing it too. All right, now that I'm in my terminal, we're going to type that command that we learned last time that I'm confident you remember. I mean, it was like a week ago. I can't remember what it was. Can you? I can't remember. Luckily, we created a cheat sheet. Did I share this with y'all? Negative? Did I share the folder with you? It was in the folder. Nope. Okay. So this is how to create a new Expo app. npx create Expo app at latest. And then the name of the Expo app, the folder that you want to put it in. Since I've already made the folder, I'm not going to say my Expo app. I'm going to say dot to say this folder. So I'm going to switch back to this and say npx create -expo -app. Wasn't that it? Create Expo app. The version is whatever the latest version of this command is, and I'm going to put it in this folder. Is that visible? You okay with that? And it is going to create a bunch of stuff for this project. There's actually different templates that can be created, different app templates that we can use. Looks like there's a bare minimum, blank TypeScript, a blank, a default, and a tabs. So this sets up all of the files that we need, including our package.json. You see this package.json defines a bunch of stuff. It defines the name, where we start running, the version, and a bunch of dependencies. And you see we like build it on top of a bunch of different software packages that other people wrote. Okay, it npm installs all of those packages and dependencies, and then it tells us you can run this with npm run Android or run iOS or run web. If you go into package.json, you can see there's a scripts area that's defined, and the scripts area are like shortcuts where any of these words that are the keys, this is like that. JavaScript is all about key value pairs. So any of these keys, you can say npm run and then this keyword, and it'll execute this longer command. Does that make sense? Which this isn't that long. Like you could remember, just run expo start, but it's kind of nice, you see here, to just remember npm run start. So npm run start is just an alias, a shortcut to whatever is typed over here. And we could put some long command there. Okay, so this runs the expo command, which then gives us this menu, and you can open an Android emulator with A, an iOS simulator with I, or a web simulator with W, and then there's other stuff you can do as well. So I am going to attempt to open the iOS simulator by pressing I, because I can do that on macOS. You might press A, because we set up an Android simulator. Or you can do W, and it'll essentially it'll compile this for the web. Okay. So my iOS is having issues, so I'm going to open it Android instead of debugging that. Okay, this one's saying no emulators could be started automatically. So to me, this says I'm going to go to More Tools with Shift M, and I would like to, toggle developer menu. Make sure show all commands. There's a way to select an iOS simulator. Oh, Shift I. I would like to do the iPhone 16 Pro. That's installed. I would think that would work. Press Sorry, I thought I had this working before. I don't understand what changed. So I'm selecting that simulator. Is the simulator opening on your computer when you press A? Oh, sure. Okay, so you want to see, so it's this npx create-expo-app at latest. And then instead of saying my expo app, if you're already in the folder, just say dot. And I can put that in Discord if that would be helpful.
I'm getting like
Okay, let's come back to that. Okay, did it? No. Okay. In order for us to run Expo, you have to have the Expo Go app installed on the device, even if it's the emulator. And this is like an app that you download on your device that allows you to run these React Native apps without having to like publish to the store and then download an app. Does that make sense? For what it's worth, may be worthwhile. We never did this. If you have you seen this QR code that pops up in here? If you have a real device, which I think you do, go to your app store and look up Expo Go. It's like a black and white caret symbol with a dot. You see this? This guy? If you download this program, you want to go ahead and download this program on your phone, then you can run your app from your computer on your phone and see what it really looks like and feels like. Okay? That same app has to be installed on the emulator. So I've got my simulator running finally. Okay. Hang on. Why am I? I'm going to open up a new terminal because, well, I better not do it twice. So this is the app that's showing up here on my emulator. It's an app with two tabs, a home tab and an explore tab. And there's just like text on it. Okay? Are y'all able to see this? Okay, yeah, here's what I pressed. This QR code, but use the QR code on your computer. If you open Expo Go on your phone, you can launch this. I bet maybe I have to actually, it's a QR code. So just like, open your camera and then click open. Hang on, I've done this before. That doesn't work, does it? Oh, it worked for you? Oh, okay. Oh, then that's going to work. I don't know. It's not working on my computer. Thanks a lot. But see, those aren't instructions. I mean, they are. That is your app. Right. So let me bring this up. Okay. So if you go into the app folder and then the tabs folder and the index.tsx, so app, tabs, index, this is the code that defines this view. So I know there's a bunch of stuff here, and it's like a little overwhelming, perhaps. Coming down to wherever the I want to find, here's welcome. Sorry, I couldn't find that. So if you just change this and then save it, it will update like immediately and fast reload. And I think it'll do the same thing on your phone because it's like kind of auto updating your the phone. Let's see. Yeah, it's impressively quick. It's sort of, yeah. We're waiting on that. Scan the QR code, open the project development. Why is that? So it bothers me that I can't. Let's see. You're saying if you had like multiple apps in development, it'll show like your recent projects in this app, and then you can open up different. Yes. So really, what this is doing is this app Expo is talking to your computers as a server and downloading the app and then running the app on Expo Go. Correct. Uh, it could cache it, I guess. I mean, you changes. I don't know. You have to try that. I mean, you could try it by just coming over here and is it Q? Is there a Q? I mean, if you command or Control C, will quit the server, and you Control C and quit the server. See if it still works. Like I guess it probably does. Yeah, this works. It just wouldn't have any updates. Okay, so I'm going to go back to npm and start. That'll rebuild. No, I guess I was opening the wrong. Yeah. And for what it's worth, have you guys ever seen how you know how every URL starts off with http://? That first part, you guys remember from Intro to Web Design? What's that first part called? Before the ://? It was on the first test in Intro to Web Design. It's not the domain, it's not the path, it's not the file name, not the server. It's called the protocol. I can't believe you could forget something that I taught you 2 years ago. No, we didn't, did we? Oh, was it on the? Oh, but yeah. So we almost always have HTTP and HTTPS because we're talking the HTTP language, the protocol. But you see, you can define your own protocol, which is basically almost your app name, and then then you can create a URL, and this URL here, it clearly is my computer's IP address, and this port is 8081, but the protocol is EXP, and that keyword, when my phone sees it, knows EXP, oh, that's the protocol that opens the Expo Go app. And you've probably done this before, you just did it if you did this, have you ever like clicked on something on the web and it opened a particular app? That's the way, that protocol is the thing that tells the phone which app to open. Okay, we're gonna just go wild here and code some stuff. This looks cool, but I want to kill it and make something that isn't cool. So can everybody open up the index.tsx? Under app, tabs, index. You know, index is our homepage. I'm going to get rid of this. There is a lot going on here, and there's a bunch of React, and I've taught you none of it. So instead of teaching you React from scratch, I'm just going to jump in and just kind of tell you what you need to know. We're going to learn React from scratch in the other class, so it'll be okay, I think. It'll be okay. Okay, so just like for overview here, here's a bunch of stuff you're importing. So that's features, components from other things so that you have access to them. The main thing that you see down here, I guess there's two things. One is there's this export statement here, export default function, home screen. and the other is a styles. So this is just, it's const, right? So it's a constant. So there's a constant defined that is a style sheet object that we create. So maybe I'm going to reverse order here. You can see this is very close to CSS. You see, so it looks like CSS almost, but it's really a JavaScript object. And this JavaScript object has a bunch of name value pairs where I've got a title container. The title container is defined by an object, and this object has name value pairs in it. And each of these names within this are basically the JavaScript version of CSS properties. So there's a flex direction property in CSS. You can't have dashes in names in JavaScript, so anything that was a dash in CSS turns into camel case here. Do y'all remember this? Like gap and margin bottom, those are two CSS properties. So one of the beauties of using React Native is that you don't have to learn a whole new design language. You can basically lean on your CSS knowledge. Now, I guess the other side of that is if you don't have CSS knowledge, then you don't know how to do design in this world either. So like that is what it is, and we will learn more CSS by doing this. But if you can imagine, there in other systems, like if you're doing app Swift UI or Xamarin, like other ways of making apps, some of them have defined a whole new language that's like CSS, but all the names are different. And learning to make apps in those systems means you got to learn a whole new app language, design language from scratch. And that's a little bit, ugh. So this is a strength. Okay, so this is one thing, is our style sheet. So this is how we've kind of embedded the styles in a CSS-like language in the definition of a component or a screen. Right. The second thing is the actual kind of markup for the element. And this is weird, but this is the React way. The way that we define the structure, the UI, that is the structural elements, is by defining a function. And this function, which is called home screen, does the work to create a UI element. So everything that's in here, you see it's in a return statement, and this return statement has parentheses. And what the return statement returns is a parallax scroll view in this case. Okay? So, and what's in the parallax scroll view? A bunch of other stuff. There's an image, there's a themed view, there's another themed view, there's another themed view, there's another themed view. You see these top level children of that? Notice that these aren't divs or spans or H1s. So when we do React in the web dev class, we'll use those HTML elements. When in React Native, we have to use elements that can get translated to the appropriate element, the thing that's like a view, the thing that's like a div, the thing that's like a button, the thing that's like an image. Android has one, iOS has one, but they're different named objects. The web has one, IMG is for an image. You with me? So what React Native does is sitting on top of all that is we define things at a higher layer, and then when the React Native compiler runs, it translates that to the right thing for the platform so that you don't have to make 3 apps or 2 apps. You just make one. I'm going to delete all this. This is bold, but I want us to start from scratch-ish here. So I just deleted everything from this return statement. Now, if I come over here, I think I'm no longer, well, I can't return nothing. Yeah. So instead, I'm going to create a view object, sorry, V-I-E-W, as my baseline object, and that has nothing in it. Wait, because there is no view. There is no view because that hasn't been imported. Instead of typing it, can I say update import? Yes. I need view. I need to import view from React Native. I could have typed that by hand by adding view up here, but I let it help us out. Okay. You can see down here it's freaking out because it's auto recompiling every time. Let's see. Oh, okay, I'm gonna need to see my dev menu. No. I can press I, right? I is open. So I closed and reopened my simulator because it was like out of date. Shift and I, iPhone 16 Pro, sure, and then opens. I don't know why it doesn't default to that. Okay. Another element that we have in our view, which I really want you to be able to see, is a text element. So we've got some baseline components, none of which are especially surprising. And again, the text here, it's like, I don't know what text is. Text comes from React Native, so I'm going to add text up here. That error goes away. And do you like terrible calculators? Is that a yes, Robert? We just made a terrible calculator. And you can see how terrible it is because the name is way up here and you can't see it. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open up my style sheet. And let's here, I want to create a container that contains like my whole app. So in this container, I'd like to have a margin top of like 30. Okay. And then I need to put a comma there. Right. You see this is just a list of JavaScript objects in an array. Now that didn't do anything because I haven't connected it yet. But the way we do this is in our view, we give the view a style property. And we say style equals, right? And then here's the magic of React. When we're in this format that's called JSX or TSX, we're in a function that returns the home screen. Anything we put in curlies, we can type code type things. And that's what we're doing here is connecting this to a variable. So I want to connect this to styles.container. Right, this is a little gross. Did you see how this moved down 30? I want to take that to 50. There's better ways of handling this, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. It's a terrible calculator after all. Yeah? So I've changed my margin top to 60. You'll notice that I have this title container, step container, React logo. All those objects exist that define styles, but they're not used anywhere, so it doesn't break anything. I believe by default these things are flex containers and they stack. Just to see that, I'm going to make a new text item that's called like number 1. Yeah, that it does stack. Oh, I probably don't want this space here. What does the error say? Okay. Let me come look at that after I drop some stuff in here. I now have several bits of text. Honestly, this is more like a title. So here, I would like to call this style equals curlies styles dot title container. only it's not a container. It's really the title text. So instead, I'm going to say, add a new thing here that's title. So title, colon, curlies, need a comma to continue the array. And for this title, I would like to say this has a font size of, I don't know, something big. And then up here, I need to say styles.title, not title container. Yeah, it worked. So this, you see this line, this connects it to which element, which subpiece of the styles object apply to this element. Yeah, we feeling good? It's working, right? Is this working for anybody? Oh, is it slow? Works fine on Dylan's computer. We should just ship it on Dylan's computer. That's the classic joke. Okay. This is going to look horrible. All right, but I'm going to give you like some basic building blocks. There's something called text input. And the text input, I think we can make this a self-closing. And oh, that really broke it nicely, didn't it? Let's see. For this thing, let's try giving the text input a placeholder of enter a number. Oh. And, oh, I see what I did wrong here. This text input should not come from React Native gesture handler. It should come from React Native. Brought in the wrong object. Let's see. How do I reload? R? R. Hey, it came back. See this? I can enter text. So this text input is like an input type equals text for the web. I can, of course, style this. And there's several other things here that I can set. So I've set the placeholder. I can also change the keyboard type to be numeric. And I believe now when I tap over here, it isn't going to bring up the numeric keyboard. For some reason I can't get the, yeah, on my phone it works. Just see the numbers now. So we can define several attributes of this. We okay? Is this working? I'm going to replicate this and have a number 2 and say enter another number. Let's make this look a little bit better. I could come down here. That's all my old stuff. I guess I could delete this. Let's have a input, and let's style our input. Maybe for our input, we'd like the height to be, I don't know, 40. And the font size to be like, I don't know, 28. And let's give it a border color of gray and a border size of 1 Oh, I think I don't have to put 1 in. Is it not border size? Sorry, border width. Now, you notice nothing's changing. Why is nothing changing? Because I haven't connected it yet. So I need this text input to have a style property of curly's styles dot input. Now, blam, I got like a big full width. Well, you can see the border now. And I can actually then reuse this style for both of them. You okay with that? Now I see that I want this font size to be much bigger. 44. Boom. What an app. Okay. Maybe we need a background color of anybody got a good background color? VP? What's it called? Like slate? Or not hashtag. Slate blue? That's a thing. It looks bad. And I want to have a color. Oh, I need a comma here. Of white. But now you can't really see the. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm taking this back to Fifi. Okay. And because it's bothering me, and we could do this in 2 ways. For my container, that's the whole container. I could give this a padding of like 8, and that would push everything in 8. Is that enough? Man, let's go 16. Yeah. You see what's going on there? Just like the web. Okay. Yeah. Good. Wait, that was on container? We probably could use some padding inside those inputs as well, but the padding may be almost too big for the. I mean, your height has got to allow for that. I wonder if you take out the height and then just say like padding, I don't know, 4, if it'll auto compute the height. Surely it will. Is that working? Let's make it bigger and see. Yeah, that works. But I'll do 14. That's a weird number. Okay. You see where I want to go. I don't know if we can get there in 10 minutes or not, but we're going to try. This calculator is going to be so bad that all it does is add. Okay? So we need to have a button, and then we need to have potentially some text that shows the result. You guys with me so far? So there is in fact a button, and we need to bring in this button from React Native as well. And this button can also be a self-closing thing. And what am I missing? Title is made. So the button has to have a title for this to work. So I need to have a title, and this is add. That fix it? And I'm bothered this didn't work. I'm gonna press R to reload. Sometimes it crashes so bad, it just loses everything. So now I have an add button. Yeah. And then I have another text that will have the result. Now, I don't have anything called result right now, so this isn't going to work. So let me show you how to make, like how to write code in a React component. This home screen is a React component. So I'm going to come up here before the return statement and essentially define some variables. Okay? Like maybe what one might think is that you could say let result equal 4, and then you would hope that 4 would show up down here, which it does. But if we want to be able to like actually use this the React way with all of the features, we've got to do something called using state, which is a way of doing variables that stick around in React. So to do this, we're going to say const and then square bracket result, comma, set result. These are two objects we're going to get back, our result. Okay, now I want to get rid of this guy. This is the result of calling use state, and I'm going to give a default value of the result state to be null. This says it can't find this. Hang on. And use state, quick. I want to import that from React. See at the top, use state is a hook that comes from the React library. So this gives us the ability to create values that, to basically create variables that we can control. I actually need to do this 3 times for the other 2 numbers. So I'm going to have a num1 and a set num1. In this case, I'm going to make this the empty string as its initial value. I'm going to have a num2 and a set num2 and give it this initial value. Okay, so this is the React way of setting up variables that we can kind of store. What we'd like to do is when the user clicks add, extract these 2 numbers, which are strings, convert them to numbers, add them together, and put the result at the bottom. So I know this is a goofy, terrible calculator, but it gives us the idea of how do we get input and produce output. So the other thing we need to define here is a function. So I'm going to say const handle add, and this is going to be a function expression using the arrow syntax because arrow functions are cool. So this handle add is a function that takes no arguments, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the sum. We're going to get number 1 and number 2. Yeah? Yeah. So we're going to say const num1 float is equal to parse float num1. And const num2 float is equal to parse float num2. So what I haven't done yet, run out of time, is I want to use React to bind, to connect whatever the user types in here to this num1. And the way that I can do that is down here under text input. I'm just going to say the value of this text input is num1, and the value of this one is num2. And React is going to make it so that whenever the user changes that, we're going to make it so that when the user changes that, it sets the value correctly. The way that we do that is by saying on change text. When the text changes, we're going to call the set num1 function. Set num1 is this guy right here. This is how we set this state. Likewise, down here, we're going to set num2 whenever the changes, we're going to set that state whenever the number in this one changes. All right, so that binds it together. In our function where we handle add, we get the two out. We should add them together and say that this is num1 float plus num2 float. And then we just need to set the result. We're going to call set result and say the result variable is whatever this sum is. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Be on the lookout for this, and there'll be some more videos on React Native coming out. Thanks for your patience. See y'all. We're so close to the end. Let me just go ahead and quickly finish this out. Notice we've got an error in the set result sum, and the cause of this error is because we're using TypeScript, and TypeScript is typed JavaScript, which means we've got to be exactly correct in our data types. The data type that's happening for a result is being inferred because we said the default value is null. We actually need it to be a number, and you see the error here is saying we can't set sum to be a number because we didn't say it was a number. The right way to do this then is to say in angle brackets, we want this use state for result to be a number. Now, as soon as I do that, it says, well, then you can't set it to be null because null is not a number. And the TypeScript way of fixing this is to say the value for this result can be either a number or the null value. So that gets rid of our error. Okay. So now we've got this handle add function that actually parses number 1 and number 2. It adds them together and sets the result state to be that sum value. But we're not done yet because our button doesn't actually call the handle add function. So we need that to happen. And the way to do this is to say on press. So the on press is saying what function do we run when this event, this press event happens. And the function we want to run is the handle add function. So when I've saved that, I believe now I have connected everything together. Let's test it by coming over to our app, putting in some numbers into number 1, number 2, clicking add, and look at that, we got 13. Now the style is terrible here. There's really gross styling, terrible UX, but we see we got the basics of input and output working in this terrible calculator. We're able to input 2 numbers and click add. Let's just change this, click add again, and you'll notice that's 92. We probably want to handle some errors here. If I try to add 5 and something that's not a number, then the result is also not a number. So perhaps we should disable the add button or just not print not a number if the result is not a number. And we could do that with some additional if statements or conditions in the handle add function. But what this little example has shown us is how to extract input from text boxes, how to handle an event and update some state using the use state hook. And we've seen this really basic layout of several text fields and a text input, the 2 text inputs and a button strung together in a really poor UI. But we've done the basics of computation. We've received input. We've done some processing. And we've created some output. So I hope that's helpful. Hope that works for y'all.